colonization of Haiti. Haiti, formerly known as both Hispaniola and Saint Dominique, is a country in the Caribbean that shares its island with the Dominican Republic. It is known for its poverty, earthquakes, hurricanes, gangs, violence, and ultimately all the death that happens there. Yet Haitians are so proud of their history. Why? Because Haiti is so much more than just that poor country in the Caribbean. To give some background about present-day Haiti, Haiti makes up the western part of the island, home to both itself and the Dominican Republic. The capital is Port-au-Prince, and the population of Haiti is currently at about 11 million people. Nearly all of these people are born of African descent from former slaves that had inhabited the island. Haiti's official languages are Haitian Creole and French. When it comes to religion, more than half the population is Roman Catholic, and some of the people that practice Roman Catholicism also practice voodoo. Other religions include different Protestant denominations such as Baptist and Pentecostal. Haiti is in a state of chronic poverty. This is normally what people think about when they hear the name Haiti. Chronic poverty is a phenomenon whereby an individual or group of people is in a state of poverty over an extended period of time. This influences the life expectancy of Haitians, as in Haiti they have one of the lowest life expectancies in the world. Also, as a result of this chronic poverty, only a small percentage of children actually can attend school. In this presentation, I'm going to cover the island itself, the role the French and the Spanish had when it came to colonizing the island, defeating slavery in the Haitian Revolution, and finally, how Haiti ultimately became its own independent country. Throughout the presentation, we will also get to hear from a Haitian I know named Junior.
Hello, my name is Jean Junior Hippolyte. I grew up in Haiti. I work for Mission to Haiti for about 17 years now.
So instead of just hearing me talk about Haiti's history, you will also hear from an actual Haitian. Here's a quick timeline of Haiti's history. So in 1492, Christopher Columbus lands on the island. In 1565, the Taino people were declared extinct. In 1697, the Treaty of Ryswick happened. And then in 1791, the Haitian Revolution began, and in 1804 it ended. In that same year, Haiti declared independence. Haiti's island was the most valuable colony in the West Indies. This island was rich in resources and provided close to 40% of Europe's sugar, as well as 60% of Europe's coffee. It served as a great way of expansion due to its location, and this was another reason it was so valuable. December 5, 1492, Christopher Columbus anchored his ship off the northern shoreline of Haiti. On the island, he discovered the Taino people. The Taino people were the indigenous people of the island and were the largest group of indigenous people in the Caribbean. Historians try to guess how many Taino people were on the island before Columbus and the Spanish landed there. They guess there is anywhere between 60,000 and 8 million, so it doesn't really narrow it down, but either way, we know there was a significant number of indigenous people on this island. When Columbus arrived on the island, he named the island Hispaniola, meaning Little Spain. Before this, the Taino people called the island Haiti. Hispaniola was seen as the most valuable colony in the West Indies and quite possibly the world at this time. It also served as a great location for Spain's expansion into South America. Anyway, the Spanish were set on searching the island for gold and exotic spices. When he was going to head back to Spain, Columbus didn't have gold or spices to sell, so he decided to sell what he thought to be the next best thing: people, the Taino people. He took 500 of the strongest and healthiest indigenous people and also left a few dozen of his crew to stay on the island. On his voyage back, 200 of the 500 Taino people died when the boat hit colder temperatures. Meanwhile, on the island of Hispaniola, Christopher Columbus's crew inhabited the island, and they were said to have roamed the island to take women and children as sex slaves and laborers. When Columbus returned, he found that the couple of dozen of his crew that he had left behind had died, but it didn't matter anyways because he had returned with 17 ships and close to 1,200 men. The Spanish continued to mine for gold on the island. At one point, they made a law that any Taino person over the age of 14 must bring them so much gold dust every 3 months. If they failed to do this, they would amputate their hands. The Taino people continued to face severe kinds of abuse. They weren't considered as human. The Spanish men would sexually assault the women and girls of the island, and Columbus is even quoted in saying, "The girls ages 9 and 10 were now in high demand." It was awful how these people were treated, and I don't think there is a good word to describe the horrendous acts against these people. Eventually, the Taino population began to plummet. They began to refuse work and refuse to grow crops. Many died from blood loss from amputation, starvation, or suicide. In 1565, the Taino people were declared extinct. In recent research, actually, they came to the conclusion that some Taino people did survive, and there were also many half-Taino people due to the sexual assault from the Spanish explorers. But either way, this is still referred to as a paper or cultural genocide. A quote from someone who is believed to be Taino from Haiti said, "I remember when I first came home as a child after discovering Columbus. I was so excited, and I'd drawn a picture of the 3 little ships. When I got home, my mother told me the real story. I was shocked. Millions of people died because of his thirst for gold and recognition." After some time, the gold mines on Hispaniola were exhausted, and the French pirates began to make settlements on the island. This led to them importing slaves from Africa to western Hispaniola, and also brought about the Treaty of Ryswick. The Treaty of Ryswick that took place in 1697 ceded the western part of Hispaniola from Spain to France. This is the area Haiti is located on the island. When the French gained control of Haiti, the name was changed from Hispaniola to Saint-Domingue. The French continued to institute slavery on the island, and because the population had declined so dramatically because of the Spanish abusing the Taino people, the colonists looked to Africa for slaves. Slaves were almost always of black descent and were considered as merchandise or a commodity. They estimate hundreds of thousands of slaves were brought over from Africa to Saint-Domingue, or formerly known as Hispaniola. Sometimes, before even arriving on the island, slaves would die on the ships bringing them over. This was also due to suicide. For years, the French would bring close to what some estimate as 40,000 slaves each year. Here is Junior speaking on the colonization of the French and the Spanish in both Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
From the beginning, as I said in the beginning, we both were colonized, but we had different countries that colonized us. Us in Haiti, it was the French, which was like an exploitation. The French, what they would do, they take all the goods and they would ship them to the French because they didn't want to stay there. They had no idea of staying in Haiti. But in the Dominican, since they were colonized by the Spanish, it was mostly like a domestic colonization. The Spanish, they know they want to stay there, they would bring the family, so they make good infrastructure. They build schools, hospital for when the family come around, so they could feel like they are home.
During the time that the French were in Haiti, the island was made up of mostly slaves. The population on the island couldn't really grow naturally due to factors such as smallpox, yellow fever, and the terrible working conditions and abuse. The island had its own system of social classes. At the top were the white plantation owners, also known as the Grand Blanc. These people owned the slaves and plantations on the island. Second were the wealthy free people of color. These people served in the militia, constabulary, and sometimes owned plantations and slaves of their own. Third were the poor whites, or the Petit Blanc. These people could not own slaves, but were artisans and laborers. And at the bottom of the pyramid were the slaves, who made up the overwhelming majority of the population. These people were seen as subhuman. Each one of these social classes had something they disliked about their living conditions, and this played a role in what we know as the Haitian Revolution. The Haitian Revolution took place between 1791 and 1804. Before this, some slaves had begun to try to escape their situation by running off to the mountains. These slaves became known as Maroons, and even before the official revolution, the Maroons were fighting the colonists. In 1791, slaves had heard rumors that the King of France had freed them and began getting ideas from the French Revolution. In August of that year, a massive slave revolt broke out, and a man named Toussaint Louverture, a former slave, helped to mold the slaves into a disciplined army able to withstand French troop attacks. At this point, the Spanish also supported these slave revolts as they believed it would weaken the French. The French were at war with most of Europe at this time. In 1793, the British invaded the island. The French then realized there was no way they could fight off the British, Spanish, and the slaves, so they freed the slaves. In 1794, the National Convention of Paris ratified this idea of freeing the slaves, and Toussaint Louverture heard of this and switched allegiances from the Spanish to the French, and this turned the tide of the war. This led to a successful slave revolt and freedom and citizenship for every slave in the Caribbean. But just because there was freedom of slavery from the French did not mean there was peace on the island. Louverture and another military leader named Rigaud believed that sugar plantations were necessary for the health of the economy on the island. However, now on these plantations, their workers were paid and children were not being sold. Then, because Louverture and Rigaud just apparently couldn't agree and fighting was just in their blood at this point, a civil war broke out. Louverture won this war, but did end up losing a lot of popularity due to the fact that he wanted the people of color on the island to keep working the plantations. Even so, now things seem to be getting back to what we would call good on the island, and then Napoleon enters the scene.
I think the main thing that you should know is our history has impacted the world. I can say any country right now, if you are in slavery, you're free now, you're wealthy, you're always thinking about Haiti, who started that revolution.
Things seemed to be looking up for the people on Saint Dominique, except there was one issue. It still technically belonged to France, and at this time, that meant Napoleon was about to be in charge. In 1799, Napoleon had seized power in France. He had big plans to reconstruct his empire in North America, most of which he had lost due to the 7 Years' War. In order to do this, however, he needed a huge amount of money, and where else would he get this from other than France's most valuable colony, Saint Dominique? Napoleon concluded that the best way to maximize profits was to reintroduce slavery on the island. And this is what the people on the island thought when Napoleon's brother-in-law landed there. This is what begins the second phase of the revolution, the fight for independence. Napoleon's brother-in-law arrested and imprisoned Louverture and sent him off to prison in France, when in 1803 he ended up dying there. An uprising started in Haiti when Napoleon's brother-in-law tried to take away the guns of the people there. This started yet another war, which included the French being horrifically cruel to the people of Saint Dominique by executing men as well as women and even importing man-eating dogs from Cuba. One of the greatest things, however, that seemed to be on the side of the people of Saint Dominique was disease, specifically yellow fever. Yellow fever, which before took the lives of many of the Tanya people, now was working in their favor, ended up taking the lives of thousands of French soldiers, including Napoleon's brother-in-law. And despite the superior training the French had, they lost this war to the people of the island. With continual defeat and the loss of many of his troops, Napoleon ended up giving up his dreams of an American empire. He reclaimed his troops from Saint Dominique and actually ended up selling the state of Louisiana back to Thomas Jefferson of the United States. Finally, on January 1st, 1804, the island was declared independent and the western part went back to its original name of Haiti. Here displayed is the primary source showing a document of part of Haiti's declaration of their independence.
Beside our friendly face, Haiti is unique for one particular reason. We are the first Black Republican that get the freedom, and it wasn't easy. And at this time, it was from one of the biggest army, strongest army, that the Napoleon. This is unbelievable, and that really make us very unique.
Cause and consequence is one of the historical thinking concepts. In the case of the Haitian Revolution, we see that some causes were slavery, social classes were not satisfied, and news of the French Revolution. We see that some of the consequences of the revolution were Haiti became an independent country, slavery was also abolished in Haiti, and Napoleon's plans of an American empire were impacted. We can see that this had lasting effects, and the impact of this revolution was worldwide. This leads to why Haiti's history is so historically significant. Out of Haiti's independence came many huge milestones and created a legacy for the country that Haitians are still proud of today. Haiti not only is the first country to be founded by former slaves, but it is also the first Black republic in the world. It was the second nation in the Western Hemisphere to defeat a European power and is known as the most successful slave rebellion. Haiti helped spoil Napoleon's plans of creating an American empire, and its independence also served as a rejection of France and even to a certain degree, Europe's racism and colonialism. As another small bonus, Haiti also helped the USA get the state of Louisiana back. Haiti's independence is historically significant in so many ways and proves that this country is so much more than just its poverty.
Well, I think, I know we are a poor country, I would say the poorest in the ethnicity. But at the same time, when we look at our history, it makes us very proud. We even, by the way that we get our freedom, and by being the first nation who dedicate themselves like a bridge to spread freedom around the world, that really makes us very proud. We're very proud about that. When you talk about Haiti, you just don't talk about poverty.
John Green from Crash Course couldn't have said it better when he says, Haiti stood up for the weak when the rest of the world failed to. The next time you read about Haiti's poverty, remember that. Yes, Haiti is a poor country. It is impacted by natural disasters, many children there lack education, malnutrition is a major issue, there is gang violence, political unrest, there are dangerous riots. But why are Haitians still so proud? Because their fight for independence inspired the world to stand up against slavery, and they will forever be historically significant.